Welcome back to my YouTube channel, where we dive deep into the rich and fascinating world of coins and numismatics. And today, we turn our full attention to the Jefferson Nickel minted in the year 1953, a coin that represents more than just 5 cents in value. It is a piece of American history, art, and legacy. To begin with, we must understand the origins of the Jefferson Nickel series, which started in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, which had been in circulation since 1913. The new nickel was introduced during the administration of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and its main purpose was to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The design of the Jefferson Nickel was created by artist Felix Schlag, who submitted the winning entry in a competition hosted by the U.S. Mint. His original design was revised before final approval, and in the end, the obverse featured a left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, while the reverse depicted Jefferson's famous home, Monticello, located in Virginia. The coin was first struck in 1938 at 3 major mints: the Philadelphia Mint, which used no mint mark, the Denver Mint with the D Mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint using the S mark. And this pattern continued through the years, including the 1953 edition which we focus on today. Now, stepping into the year 1953, we must place ourselves in the context of post-World War II America. This was a time of immense social change, economic growth, and Cold War tension. The country had just elected Dwight D. Eisenhower as president, and there was an air of cautious optimism across the nation. In the world of coinage, the U.S. Mint was adjusting to peacetime needs and had resumed full production after the restrictions and adjustments during the war years. The 1953 Jefferson Nickel was produced at 3 different locations, again, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. However, this would be the final year of regular Jefferson Nickel production at the San Francisco Mint until many years later, which gives the 1953 Jefferson Nickel a special place in numismatic history. The San Francisco Mint actually stopped striking regular issue coins after 1955, focusing instead on proof and special mint sets, and not returning to general coinage production until decades later. In total, the U.S. Mint produced more than 143 million Jefferson Nickels in 1953. The Philadelphia Mint led the way with over 76 million coins, the Denver Mint struck over 59 million, and the San Francisco Mint contributed approximately 19 million, and because of this, the 1953 Jefferson Nickel is considered the key issue of the year, not for its mintage, which was still in the millions, but for the historical significance of being among the last regular strike coins from that mint during this era. From a design standpoint, the 1953 Jefferson Nickel remains consistent with previous years. It features Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, with inscriptions along the rim, including "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date. 1953 on the reverse, the image of Monticello is centered with inscriptions reading "E Pluribus Unum," Monticello 5 cents, and United States of America. However, collectors often look at finer details such as strike sharpness, die polish, die deterioration, and plancher quality, and many Jefferson Nickels of the early 1950s can be found with weak strikes, particularly from the Denver and San Francisco mints, due to worn dies and aging equipment. Collectors today place value not just on the mint mark, but on the condition and rarity of the coin. Full steps designation is especially important. This refers to the number of clearly visible steps on the Monticello building on the reverse side of the coins that exhibit 5 or 6 full steps without interruption are graded higher and are significantly more valuable in the market. The 1953 Jefferson Nickel from Philadelphia is notoriously hard to find with full steps, making those specimens particularly prized by advanced collectors. It is also important to note the changes happening at the U.S. Mint. During the early 1950s, the Mint was working to modernize its equipment and coinage process, but still relied on traditional mechanical presses and hand-prepared dies. This meant quality control was not as consistent as modern standards, and coins from this period often exhibit variations from die-wear doubled dies, re-punched mint marks, and even some planchet issues and errors. Errors and varieties of the 1953 Jefferson Nickel are an important part of its numismatic interest. Collectors have discovered re-punched mint marks, especially on the 1953S and 1953D issues, where the mint mark was punched more than once by hand, resulting in overlapping impressions. There are also examples of die cracks chips off center strikes and lamination errors, which add to the appeal for error coin collectors and specialists. Looking deeper into the economic and cultural aspects of 1953, the nickel remained a fundamental part of daily commerce. It was used in vending machines, jukeboxes, and transportation systems. A nickel could still buy a loaf of bread or a bus fare. In many places, the average American may not have thought twice about the 5-cent coin, but it circulated heavily and carried the story of Thomas Jefferson and American ideals into the hands of millions. Jefferson as a figure is a fitting choice for a coin. He was a visionary founding father and advocate for liberty and education, and the founder of the University of Virginia. His influence on American political philosophy remains profound, and his inclusion on a widely circulated coin helps keep his legacy alive to this day. As we continue this video, we will examine examples of high-grade 1953 Jefferson nickels, look at certified population reports from grading agencies like PCGS and NGC, and analyze price trends in auctions and online markets. We will also explore stories from collectors who discovered these coins in circulation or inherited them from relatives, and we will discuss the role these nickels play in complete Jefferson nickel sets and registry collections. We will take a close look at grading standards using visual examples to show the difference between a circulated coin, a mint state coin, and a full steps example, and we will compare these coins across the three mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, explaining the minor differences in DI characteristics, metal composition, and strike quality. As we continue our exploration of the 1953 Jefferson nickel, it is important to look at the broader context of American coinage during the 1950s and how the values of this time were reflected in the coinage system. The early 1950s was a time of national rebuilding, industrial expansion, and growing prosperity, following the difficult years of World War II and the Great Depression. The United States Mint played a vital role in reflecting stability and continuity through its coin designs, and the Jefferson nickel was a symbol of that era. The coin itself was struck in a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a durable alloy that had proven effective since the late 1800s. This composition remained consistent. Despite changing demands for metal during wartime, the nickel itself was part of daily commerce, but it also represented technological achievement in minting processes that were becoming increasingly complex in the post-war years. The 1953 Jefferson nickel featured no significant design changes from the 1938 original, but subtle shifts in die wear strike sharpness and planchet quality make this year particularly important to specialists. There were significant inconsistencies in the strike quality of the Denver and San Francisco coins, and this adds layers of complexity to grading and valuation. The San Francisco Mint, which had a rich history dating back to the California Gold Rush, was nearing the end of its regular coinage run in 1953. This makes the 1953S issue not only a low mintage coin, but one of the last circulated coins produced by that mint before it transitioned to proof and collector sets only for the next several decades. Now let us go deeper into the minting process itself. In 1953, coins were still struck using screw presses and manually prepared dies. This meant that human error was more frequent and differences between coin batches were more visible. Mint marks were hand-punched onto dies, and this led to a wide variety of mint mark placements on 1953D and 1953S coins. The Jefferson nickel as a series is one of the most collected coin types in the United States. Many collectors build full date and mint mark sets with a focus on condition and varieties, and the 1953 coins provide a particularly interesting challenge for these collectors because of the limited availability of full-step specimens and the uneven quality of minting across locations. Let us look closely now at the full steps designation, which is awarded when the steps on the Monticello reverse are fully struck and separated. Collectors highly value this designation as it reflects the sharpest strikes and best preserved dies. Coins with 5 or 6 full steps are rare, especially from 1953, and this makes them highly sought after by advanced numismatists. In population reports from major grading companies like PCGS and NGC, we find that 1953 Jefferson nickels in mint state with full steps are extremely limited in number and often command high premiums at auction. For example, a 1953 D nickel with full steps in MS-66 condition can sell for several $100s, and in some rare cases over $1,000 when the strike is exceptionally clean. As we shift into the collector culture surrounding the Jefferson nickel, we see a vibrant community of hobbyists, dealers, researchers, and auction houses who actively study, trade, and catalog these coins. Collectors often search for raw examples in old rolls, coin jars, and estate sales, hoping to find unrecognized treasures among common pieces. Specialist collectors also pursue error coins, which were more common in the pre-modern minting era. Examples include off-center strikes, where the design is visibly shifted to one side, clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing from the edge, die cracks that appear as raised lines across the surface, and lamination errors, where the surface layer of the metal separates during striking. All of these can be found among 1953. Jefferson nickels, and each error tells a story of how the minting process sometimes broke down under pressure. Turning now to the proof versions, although no proof nickels were struck in 1953 due to the temporary suspension of proof sets from 1943 to 1949, and their reintroduction in 1950, proof Jefferson nickels were only made in Philadelphia starting in 1950 and continuing thereafter. Thus, 1953 does not have a proof version, but collectors often compare it to proof-like examples which occasionally appear among high-grade business strikes with especially reflective fields and sharp detail. Looking at the design of the Jefferson nickel in a broader cultural sense, we see the portrait of Jefferson by Felix Schlag as a product of 1930s neoclassical design. His rendering of Jefferson was based on sculptural representations and historical paintings, while Monticello on the reverse was inspired by classical architecture and designed to symbolize Enlightenment reason and individual liberty concepts that Jefferson championed. In fact, Monticello was more than just a home. It was a reflection of Jefferson's personality, his intellectual curiosity, and his architectural talent. Its inclusion on the coin was not just a backdrop, but a representation of the American ideal, the pursuit of knowledge balanced with a life of service and humility. Finally, let us turn our attention to investing and collecting trends. The Jefferson nickel series is often undervalued compared to silver coinage, but this provides a unique opportunity for collectors to obtain historically significant coins at accessible prices, especially for mid-century issues like the 1953 nickels building a complete set with full steps. Examples from each mint remains a challenge that attracts both new and experienced collectors. In conclusion, the 1953 Jefferson nickel is far more than a simple 5-cent coin. It is a bridge between the wartime economy and the prosperous years that followed it, is a closing chapter for the San Francisco Mint's role in circulating coinage. It is a product of early 20th century design paired with mid-century minting technology, and it is a challenge to collectors who seek quality, rarity, and history in every piece they examine. This concludes the extended historical narrative, but we will now proceed with visual comparisons, coin grading walkthroughs, auction price data, and collector interviews in the remainder of this video, where we take deep dives into the fascinating world of coin collecting and coin value analysis. And today, we are going to explore the incredible history and value evolution of Lincoln pennies, along with key insights into 2021 coinage that every collector and investor should know, whether you are just beginning your numismatic journey or have years of experience under your belt. This video will guide you through the most essential and most intriguing details of one of America's most iconic coin series, the Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. This penny became the first regular issue United States coin to feature a real person, and it replaced the Indian head cent that had circulated since 1859. The designer Victor David Brenner created the obverse portrait of Lincoln based on a photograph taken in 1864, and the initials VDB appeared prominently on the reverse of the first issues, which stirred controversy among the public and led to their temporary removal. Later, they were discreetly restored to the obverse under Lincoln's shoulder, where they remain today. Now, moving forward through the decades, we will walk through every major design shift, composition change, mint mark detail, error, variety, and rarity, from the original wheat reverse struck from 1909 to 1958 to the memorial reverse that followed from 1959 to 2008, celebrating the Lincoln Memorial Building and marking 150 years since his birth. Then we enter the modern era from 2009 with the bicentennial reverse program, which introduced 4 different designs representing key phases of Lincoln's life, such as his birth and early childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C. These special reverses were issued for 1 year only before the introduction of the Shield reverse in 2010, which remains in circulation today. This coin features a Union shield with a scroll bearing the inscription 1 cent, meant to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single country. Now we must discuss the metal compositions, which have changed several times due to economic factors, including during World War II, when the 1943 Lincoln cents were struck on zinc-coated steel instead of the usual bronze, leading to one of the most famous error coins in American history, the 1943 copper cent, which was struck on leftover planchets and is now worth thousands or even over $100,000 depending on condition and provenance. We will analyze year by year the minting figure's strike qualities, key dates, proof issues, and double die varieties, including famous examples like the 1955 double die obverse and the 1969 S double die, which are highly sought after by collectors and considered grails of the Lincoln series. Transitioning into the modern collecting scene, we will cover how grading affects value with reference to leading grading services like PCGS and NGC. We will examine population reports and what makes a coin worthy of MS-66 red or higher designations, and we will look at the evolution of packaging from original bank rolls to modern slabbed certified coins. We will also touch on coin roll hunting and how thousands of collectors are still finding valuable cents in circulation, and how knowledge of mint marks and small variations can lead to big discoveries. Then we will move into the 2021 coinage and take a focused look at the Lincoln cent from that year, which was issued in massive quantities across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. While the design remained the same, subtle die changes and quality differences produced some exciting error coins, and doubled die remained the same. Subtle die changes and quality differences produced some exciting error coins and doubled die varieties, which we will catalog for you in detail. We will analyze the mintage statistics, market activity, and auction prices of 2021, pennies from uncirculated and proof sets, and how they compare with earlier years, including the effect of the ongoing coin shortage and changes in public demand. We will also break down the impact of third-party verification and how demand in online marketplaces like eBay or heritage auctions reflects shifts in collector interest. We will look at toning strike sharpness and even coin chemistry. and how storage methods affect long-term value in cents both old and modern for over 100 years. The Lincoln penny has not only circulated among billions of Americans, but also stood as a living piece of history evolving with the nation through wars, economic shifts, social change, and artistic transformation, and this channel is here to help you understand the depth of that history with precise detail, collector insight, and expert knowledge. So whether you're collecting for fun, for investment, or to preserve a piece of heritage, stay tuned, because this episode will take you on a journey from 1909 to the present moment, a story told through copper, bronze, and zinc, through art and commerce, through the hands of workers and the vision of engravers, through the rarity of errors and the patterns of mass production, and we are just getting started. Lincoln cents? We now turn our attention to the key varieties and errors that have shaped the collector market and captured the fascination of numismatists around the world. We begin with the most famous double-die errors, such as the 1955 double-die obverse, which displays strong doubling of the date and inscriptions, especially in the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." This coin was accidentally released into circulation and became legendary, overnight fetching high prices even in circulated grades. Similar doubling can be found on the 1972 double die and the extremely rare 1969 S double die, obverse with fewer than 100 confirmed examples. These coins exhibit strong Class I doubling, which results from misalignment in the hubbing process during die creation. Another coveted variety is the 1995 double die obverse, which, although more common than earlier examples, still commands strong interest from collectors and is often found in mint state due to being caught early in its distribution. In addition to double dies, we explore repunched mint marks known as RPMs, which are particularly common in the 1940s and 1950s when mint marks were punched manually. Examples like the 1944 D over D or 1956 D over D are highly collectible and often fly under the radar of less experienced collectors. We will examine how these repunched marks can be spotted using magnification and lighting, and how their value varies across different grades and appearances. We will also discuss overdates like the elusive 1918 over 7D, which combines a date from the previous year with the next due to die reuse, and remains one of the great rarities of the wheat cent series. Then we investigate transitional errors, which occur when planchets or dies from one composition or design are accidentally used in another year. The most famous of these is the aforementioned 1943 copper cent, but there is also the 1944 steel cent, a rare error that occurred when leftover steel planchets from 1943 were mistakenly used in 1944. Another example is the 1982 small date copper and zinc transition year, which features 7 major varieties due to the change in composition from 95% copper to the current copper-plated zinc. This year alone requires careful study to distinguish small date from large date and copper from zinc using simple weight measurement and magnification. We also delve into the minting process itself, explaining how dies are created, hubs are pressed and coins are struck, and how errors at each stage can produce the varieties we now collect, from die cracks and cuds to off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchets. Each type of error tells a different story about the coin's creation and journey, and we show how to identify them, authenticate them, and understand their relative scarcity. Next, we explore the economics of coin collecting with a close look at price. Guides like the Red Book auction records from Heritage Stacks Bowers and Great Collections, and third-party grading services that establish value and legitimacy. We explain the difference between raw coins and graded coins, and how certifications like MSRD, RB, and BN affect value, especially for Lincoln cents, which can show vivid color changes over time due to toning. We explore how storage conditions influence color, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of numismatics and explore the hidden treasures within the coins we carry every day. Today, We're going to journey through time and value as we explore the 1985 Washington Quarter, its history, design, production, and the legacy it has left in American coinage. We'll also look into the broader world of old coin values. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an in-depth ride through numismatic history. Let's start by understanding the Washington Quarter itself, a coin that was first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The original design was created by sculptor John Flanagan, who based his portrait of Washington on a bust by Jean-Antoine Houdon. Flanagan's design featured a left-facing profile of Washington on the obverse side, while the reverse featured an eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below. This classic design stayed in circulation for decades, becoming one of the most recognized and collected American coins. Fast forward to 1985, a year that may seem ordinary on the surface, but holds particular interest to coin collectors and enthusiasts across the country. The 1985 Washington Quarter was minted at 3 primary locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each mint location contributing its own version of the coin with unique mint marks. The Philadelphia mint used no mint mark. Denver used the letter D, and San Francisco used the letter S, typically associated with proof coins. During this period, the composition of the quarter was the copper nickel-clad variety, which had replaced the 90% silver content in 1965 following the Coinage Act of 1965. Due to rising silver prices and hoarding concerns, the 1985 quarter therefore consisted of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper, making it a coin that, while no longer made of precious metal, still maintained the durability and practicality necessary for widespread circulation. Now let's talk mintage numbers and production quality. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 775 million quarters in 1985, making it a high production year. The Denver Mint followed with over 520 million coins, while the San Francisco Mint produced just over 3 million proof coins for collectors because of the sheer volume of coins released that year. The 1985 Washington Quarter isn't considered rare in circulated condition. However, what makes certain examples valuable are mint errors' pristine condition and high grades given by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Among the most sought-after 1985 quarters are those in mint state condition, particularly those graded MS-67 or higher, which are considered to be in exceptional shape and are often worth far more than their face value. Even more exciting are the mint errors that occasionally surface in the numismatic market. These can include double dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, and other anomalies that occurred during the minting process. For example, a double die obverse, where parts of the design appear. Doubled can drastically increase the coin's value due to its rarity and collector demand. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint deserve a spotlight as well. These coins were struck with special dies on polished blanks, resulting in a mirror-like finish and sharp details. Though they were not intended for circulation, they have become prized collector items, and their condition is typically better preserved than their circulated counterparts. The value of these proof coins depends greatly on their condition, whether they are deep cameo or ultra cameo, and if they have retained their original luster without any signs of toning or handling. But the value of the 1985 Washington Quarter also lies in its role within the broader history of American coinage. It was minted during a time of transition in the United States when economic and technological changes were reshaping the way Americans viewed money and savings. The coin itself represents a snapshot of that era. And for collectors, it offers a connection to the past and a physical piece of history that can be held, studied, and appreciated. As we continue to explore the history of old coins, it's important to recognize that value isn't always monetary. Many collectors treasure their coins for the stories they tell and the history they preserve, from the hands they've passed through to the pockets they've ridden in. Every coin has a journey, and the 1985 Washington Quarter is no exception. It has served not just as currency, but as a cultural artifact, a teaching tool, and a gateway for many into the world of numismatics. We will now take a detailed look at specific examples of 1985 quarters that have fetched impressive prices at auction. We'll analyze what makes them unique. We'll look at professional grading photos and descriptions, and examine why certain traits and features matter so much to collectors and investors. We'll also compare the 1985 quarter with earlier and later dates to show how changes in design production and market interest have influenced the value of these coins over time. And of course, we won't stop with just one coin. We'll take a look at how the Washington quarter evolved in the decades following 1985, especially with the introduction of the 50-state quarters program in 1999, which dramatically changed the face and focus of the quarter and introduced millions of people to the fun and importance of collecting coins. We'll discuss how the legacy of the classic Flanagan design influenced later designs and how it continues to resonate with collectors to this day. For those of you watching who are new to collecting, we'll provide tips on how to identify valuable coins in your pocket, change how to store and preserve your collection, and how to recognize red flags when buying or selling coins online. We'll also go over common misconceptions about coin values and how grading standards work, so you can approach collecting with confidence and clarity. So whether you're here to learn more about the 1985 Washington quarter, or you're just beginning your journey into the world of coin collecting, this video will give you a comprehensive and engaging look into the history, design, significance, and hidden value behind one of America's most enduring coins. Thank you for watching, and welcome back to the channel where every coin has a story, and every story is worth telling. In the world of mint errors, the 1985 Washington quarter has several notable examples that have appeared over the years. Though errors were less common in the mid-'80s due to tighter quality control, some interesting pieces still escaped into the wild. These include off-center strikes, where the coin is misaligned during the strike, leading to part of the design being cut off. Double dies, where portions of the lettering or design appear twice due to a misaligned die hubbing. Process and clipped planchets, where part of the blank metal disc is missing. Before striking, each of these errors has its own grading scale and rarity profile, and collectors often compete aggressively for high-grade examples of these unusual coins. Now let's dive deeper into the collector value of the 1985 quarter across different markets, auction results, and dealer trends over the past 2 decades show a steady increase in the value of top-grade and rare error quarters, particularly in certified holders' demand for coins. Graded MS-67 or higher has been growing, especially among registry set builders who strive to own the finest possible example of every coin in a given series. These high-grade coins are often slabbed by companies like PCGS and NGC, which provide not only authenticity, but also a grade that affects value significantly. For example, a typical 1985 P quarter in circulated condition is worth face value, but in MS-67 condition, it can sell for over $100 or more, depending on eye appeal, luster, and strike sharpness. Proof coins have their own market dynamic, with deep cameo PR69 and PR70 examples, drawing high prices from collectors focused on quality and completion-proof sets that include the 1985 S quarter in pristine condition continue to sell well, particularly if they come with original government packaging and certification. A growing trend in the hobby involves breaking up original proof sets to submit individual coins for grading, which can greatly increase their value if the coin earns a top grade. This has become a profitable niche for experienced collectors and dealers alike. In addition to individual coin grading, many collectors and investors are paying closer attention to population reports. These are official statistics released by grading companies that tell how many coins of each type and grade exist in their database. If only a few 1985 quarters have been graded, MS-68 by PCGS, for example, then owning one becomes significantly more valuable due to its extreme rarity. Scarcity drives price, and collectors are always seeking the best of the best, especially when it comes to modern issues, where high mintages often hide the difficulty of finding a truly perfect coin. Looking beyond just the 1985 quarter, the world of old coin values includes many categories that intersect with this discussion. Silver coins from before 1965, such as 90% silver quarters, are prized not only for their numismatic content. These coins have been steadily increasing in value due to both collector demand and fluctuations in silver prices. While the 1985 quarter has no silver content, its place within the series helps collectors trace the evolution from precious metal coinage to modern clad issues. Understanding this context helps collectors build more meaningful collections and deepens appreciation for the economic and historical forces that shape the coins we use every day.